Okay, so once again, good day. So this time we're going to discuss about the IT or information technology infrastructure and emerging technology. So after this module, of course, uh, we are expected to describe the components of IT infrastructure in detail, determine the stages and technical factors driving the development of IT infrastructure, which computer hardware system are now most in demand, and what are the most current trends in software platforms. No? So, excuse. Information technology, infrastructure as the shared technological asset that serve as the foundation for the unique information system application used by the firm. No? So an organization's entire business units or the entire company may invest in hardware, software, and services, including consulting, training, education, and as part of the IT infrastructure. No? So the cornerstone of the company ability to serve consumer, collaborate with partners, and oversee internal business operation is its IT infrastructure. So with telecommunications, networking gear, and telecommunication services includes internet, telephone, and data transfer are taken into account. It is anticipated that the industry providing enterprise worldwide with IT infrastructure, considering the hardware and software, and actually, that is around 3.6 US dollar or trillion actually, US dollar, and excluded pa po dun yung 400 billion IT and related business process consulting services. Because large companies driven by financial services organization, those IT investment is well over half of total capital investment. Spend between 25 and 50% of their budgets on infrastructure investment. So to give us more details about the topic, let us all welcome our presenter.
So thank you, Doc. So in IT infrastructure emerging technologies, napakahabang topic niya at ang dami, masalimuot niya kasi in building IT infrastructure and emerging technology, maraming bagay na kino-consider. Up to now, nagsimula tayo sa mainframe computer. Ngayon, ang ginagamit na natin is cloud computing. So here is my report. Hello, good morning everyone. I'm Ariel Saiko, and the topic that I will report is about the IT infrastructure and the emerging technologies. The part 1 which will cover about the IT infrastructure, its definition, evolution, the infrastructure components, and what are the contemporary hardware platform trends. To begin with, let us discuss first what are the learning objectives that we could get from learning this chapter. So first, what is IT infrastructure and what are its components? Second, what are the stages and technology drivers of IT infrastructure evolution? And third, what are the current trends in computer hardware platforms? So what is the definition of IT infrastructure? So information technology infrastructure is broadly defined as a set of information technology components that are the foundation of an IT service, typically physical components, but also various software and network components. IT infrastructure is also composed of both human and technical output that is considered a firm-wide services which should give emphasis on budget management and skills development and training. IT infrastructure provide a flexible, reliable, secure operation which can help to provide a company vision to have a competitive edge on the market competition as it will remodel the business cycle through technological advancement. And by integration on an information technology concept, businesses will surely make changes on fast connectivity, which will help to fasten the accessibility of data. And moreover, the security issues like data management can be safeguarded through system password to prohibit or limit access on delicate files. So this figure, connection between the firm, IT infrastructure, and business capabilities shows that IT infrastructure cannot stand alone without relying on an IT services. The IT services serves as components of developing a good setup of an IT infrastructure. With the help of these services, the application will be easily used or navigate correctly by the end user, specifically the customers, suppliers, and the employees For an instance, in a client servicing transaction, the software application which will be used by the customer is an interface for adding data or information to the database, preferably the data entry or the add functionality. Meanwhile, the employee will make use of the system to see the authenticity of the details provided by the customer. The employees can make use of an edit or delete functionality. As figures shown, the business strategy, information technology, and the IT strategy have correlation to each other to build an IT effective infrastructure and services. It is simply because planning its integration should require proper budget analysis management, which include the process on how to prolong the equipment and tools pertaining to hardware and software, education and training to identify how to use and facilities and who will use the facilities. In a scenario, for instance, the real business value of a fully loaded personal computer operating at 3 GHz that costs about $1,000 in a high-speed internet connection is hard to understand without knowing who will use it and how it will be used. To have a successful implementation of an advanced technological equipment facilities of a business, the firmware services is indeed an essential. The following are the IT services that need to correlate with the IT infrastructure to have a better IT facilities. So these are the data management services, the application software service, physical facilities management services, IT management services, IT standard services, IT education services, and the IT research and development services. So let us now discuss about the historical remarks on the evolution of IT infrastructure. So it is grown over 50 years and still moving fast on innovation. The world benefits a lot of this technological advancement because of the emergence technology is tasked on a firm, even at household or school, where we can browse through internet to learn and know something over the search engine. So IT infrastructure organize the business world and make it a lot simpler through fast mobility of the IT infrastructure evolution. So the first evolution, which run from 1959 up to the present, is still used today, the general purpose mainframe and mini computer era. So in this era, mainframe computer was dominated by IBM with the introduction of IBM 360 series, which has the capability to provide time sharing, multitasking, and virtual memory in more advanced models. So this mainframe computer is considered as a first commercial computer with a powerful operating system. These mainframe computers replaced IBM 1401 and 7090, which was set the beginning of a widespread use of a mainframe computer in 1959. This era is dominantly controlled in the market by professional programmer and system operator, in which the hardware and software is usually provided by the single vendor, the IBM. The company that would use the mainframe computers will need to seek or hire professionals under the supervision of a sole vendors. One great contributions of the mainframe computer is its capabilities to support thousands of. The next era is the personal computer era from 1981 to present. So, in personal computer era, personal computer became popular when IBM PC was introduced in 1981 due to it is recommended and widely accepted by American business. Although 1970s was recorded as the beginning of PC era through the development of Xerox Alto and the MITS Altair 8800 and the Apple I and II, but was not popular to the computer enthusiasts. So IBM PC was further developed from DOS command into Windows operating system known as Wintel PC. So DOS commands are the commands available in MS-DOS that are used to interact with the operating system and other command line-based software. So unlike in Windows, DOS commands are the primary way in which you use the operating system. From 2012 to 90 from 2012, 90% of operating system use is Windows, and the remaining 10% under Macintosh. The sold personal computer also ballooned with an estimated 1.2 billion in the world, or approximately 300 million computers in a year. With the essentiality of more smartphones as billions of people worldwide made use of it, Wintel became more dominant platform as it is preferred use OS by iPhone and Android devices. So the use of personal computer became more important with its spreadsheet, word processing and presentation, and data management, which became useful both home and in the organization. So the operating system of Windows later on developed to be able to connect PC into network through LAN cable. So the next era is the client-server era, which ran from 1983 to present. And in this era, the Noble Network was known as the leading software for client-server until the domination of Windows produced by Microsoft with their Windows Server, Windows 8, Windows 7, and Windows Vista with Windows operating system. So development of client-server make it more acceptable to the corporate world due to its reliability and security features. In client-server, its centralized architectures enable to protect data within access controls imposed by security policies. So, network traffic passing through the network can be seen and can be limited with actions to prevent unauthorized access to specified information, plus stop the spread of viruses. In client-server, the client is referred to a personal computer or laptop that are networked to a powerful server that can provide different services and functionalities. In client server, as is the software of the physical computer that which is software that enable navigation through limiting or allowing access to specific applications. There are two types of client server widely used, which are the two-tiered client server architecture and multi-tiered open-code and-tiered client-server architectures. So the first one is usually used in small business as a simple client and server setup, while the last one is used in corporations, making use of a more than one complex server network to different clients. This era, the enterprise computing era, runs from 1992 to the present. With the emergence of Internet in 1995, businesses rely on the use of transmission control protocol, Internet protocol, networking standard to their disparate network together. So by using TCP/IP, different pieces of computer hardware and smaller network can now link into enterprise-wide network, allowing firms to have free-flowing information across the corporation and the other organization. So in enterprise computing, it have the capabilities to link enterprise-wide network between computer hardware, including mainframes, servers, PCs, and mobile devices, and it includes public infrastructure such as the telephone system, the internet, and the public network services. The fifth era is known as the cloud and mobile computing era, that is from 2000 millennium era to the present. So in the cloud and mobile computing era, the enhancement and further development of internet with its bandwidth power helped to create and develop a cloud and mobile computing era, which can be considered as the improved version and modernized enterprise computing era. With the help of cloud computing, a business enterprise has a wide range of access to a shared pool of computing resources anywhere and everywhere as long as it is connected with a network powered by the internet and with access permission. So cloud computing can provide a computing resources through a network, usually internet, that connect to computers, storage, application, and services that can be accessed on an as-needed basis from any connected device and location. And according to a research from Gartner 2012, currently cloud computing is the fastest growing form of computing, with companies spending about $109 billion on public cloud services in 2012 and an estimated of 207 US dollar 207 billion US dollar by the end of 2016. Internet made it possible the success of cloud and mobile computing. As of today, any machine linked to the internet such as desktop computers, laptops, tablets, entertainment centers, smartphones, and other client machine can access thousands or even hundreds of thousands computers located in cloud data center. As you can see in the figure, the cloud computing has very great capability or capacity to enable to access the cloud or the database of a cloud computing. So with just use of the tablet, mobile phone, laptop, and desktop PC, it can do anything in cloud computing, such as the application softwares, training, calendar database presentation, storage, collaboration, finance, spreadsheets, contacts, and email. And as of today, um, the leading provider of cloud computing centers that can provide huge data storage with fast internet connectivity to firms with remote IT infrastructure are the Google, Microsoft, SAP, Oracle, and Salesforce.com as the leading seller of services delivered over the internet. So these slides, we will tackle about the technology drivers of infrastructure evolution. So there is a significant mark in the development of important computer hardware and software, as well as the computing power, by rapid changes in the computer processing, memory chips, data storage device, internet software, and networking hardware, and the development in telecommunications. So computing processes make it more simpler and reliable over time, from the era of mainframe and mini computers to the era of cloud or mobile computing era. So through this era and development, there were also important events that developed an idea and theory and later on become a law. These laws became a basis for many studies pertaining to the impact of information technology into the world, especially in the business sector. So the first law is the Moore's law and microprocessing power. So it is developed or studied or Gordon Moore in 1965. So an Intel co-founder predicted that the number of components per integrated circuits will double every year. So the insight of Gordon Moore became prediction, later on became a law due to impact that his statement happened from noticing emerging trends in chip manufacturing at Fairchild Semiconductor. So Gordon Moore is the co-founder of Intel. So postulated that the number of transistors packed uh, in a given unit had doubled each year and later on reduced the rate to doubling every 2 years. So Moore's law states that the impact of transistors stored in microchips will double, wherein as transistors in integrated circuit become more efficient, computer become more smaller and faster and efficient. So this efficiency of doubling transistors in microchips is due to its microscopic structures made with carbon and silicon molecules built in a pattern aligned perfectly to make a fast circulation of electricity. Thus, the faster the chip will be in processing electrical signals, the more a computer become faster and efficient and also become cheaper. So the next driver of IT, technological driver of IT infrastructure evolution is the law of mass digital storage. So in the law of mass digital storage, it states that as the amount of digital information produced worldwide doubles, Every year, the cost of digital storage double each year at an exponential rate. So in this figure, the figure shown on the right side, shown the rapid changes in price per year. So as you can see, for an instance, from 1983 up to 1988, the capacities of hard disks grew at the rate of 25% annual compound growth, while in the late 1990s, it doubled to 65% compound annual growth. A recent study by Gantz and Reinself in 2011 and Linman and Baryan in 2003 states that the rapidly doubling every year cost of storing digital information falling at the exponential rate of 100% a year, and the figure shows that the number of megabytes that can be stored on magnetic media for $1 or $1 from 1950 to the present roughly doubled every 15 months. So in 2012, a 500 gigabyte hard disk drive sells at retail for about $60. So this next IT drivers on IT infrastructure evolution is the Metcalfe's law and network economics. So in 1970, Robert Metcalfe, the inventor of Ethernet, local area network technology, claimed that the value or power of a network grows exponentially as the number of network members over the network grows functionally. So the rapid growth of internet and network economics emphasize as the main reason for the changes in networking capacity. So as the law implies, that a network in fact is a square of the number of nodes in the network, which corresponds to 10 nodes. So with it inherent value to 100 or 10 by 10 nodes. So it either a server, clients, or the computer, or the uh, data storage. So for an instance, a single web server receiving emails or inquiries in from customers in an online selling app can be flooded by messages from clients. It is either through due to claims or returning product, and thus multiple servers connected to each other by network should be established. On the other hand, the use of a fax machine between two different persons is an advantage way of communication. However, when it comes to millions of users, the company might need to purchase another unit. So as the law implies, the network effect on which the many networking provide to accumulate and observe advantageous for the company by being productive and um, fast on receiving traffic on the network, or by bypassing the traffics on the network through many source of network on with the use, of course, of the internet. For example, in Lazada, which is an online selling platform, so uh, this leading online selling platform became an early known and popular in the Philippines. So, who had the most user? Thus, even though they might not have a best-selling platform, but because of its originality and the power of the network, drove out, drove out the the competition for the other online selling platform. Declining communications costs in the internet. So according to the Internet World Stats in 2012, an estimated 2.3 billion people worldwide now have internet access. That
Kaya
caused
mo
a
yan.
dramatic
Ulit ka naman.
communication cost decline and the exponential growth in the size of the internet growth. But communications over the telephone and the internet continually declining as the continuous expansion of IT infrastructure must take to consider. So business should take advantage of the unlimited capabilities of the internet that can make use of different communication platforms to advertise their business products. So social medias now play vital role on on this law. So since its popularity, more people tend to make use of internet-connected platform to communicate on a business transaction. In fact, Communication costs fall toward a very small number and approach zero utilization of communication and computing facilities explode. Business strategy includes empowering IT infrastructure facilities due to the importance of the internet as it shows limitless capabilities in communication, advertising, and commercialization of their products. So firms greatly nowadays are focusing to expand their internet connection, including wireless connectivity, expand the power of their client-server networks, desktop clients, and mobile computing devices. Standard and network effects. So according to Stango in 2004, technology standards are specifications establish the compatibility of products and the ability to communicate in a network. So different IT manufacturers and IT computing services provider plus widespread acceptance of consumer agreed into a standard technology that make it possible to cheapen the price of computing device due to setting which focus on the products built per agreed standard. So imagine without this standard, each manufacturer will set different platforms that will make computing of any sort far more expensive. So with the standards and network effects, it unleashed powerful economies of scale and result in price declines as manufacturers focus on the products built to a single standard. So moving towards standard computing communication platforms beginning the 1990s, different corporations set their preferred platforms that will suit their IT infrastructure. So in fact, the Wintel PC with the Windows operating system and Microsoft Office desktop productivity applications became the standard desktop and mobile client computing platform. So recently, the spotlight was also shared with other standards such as Apple's iOS and Macintosh operating system and the Android operating systems. So let's now move on to the second part of my report. It's about the infrastructure components of the IT infrastructure. So we have 7 components of the IT infrastructure. So we have the internet platforms, the computer hardware platforms, the operating system platforms, enterprise software, networking, telecommunication, consultants, and system integrators, the data management, and storage. So the first IT infrastructure components is the computer hardware platform. So IT infrastructure is an advanced and powerful computer hardware composed of the clients and server devices that are needed in establishing an IT infrastructure. So it intended to handle hundreds of thousands of files to be stored on digital storage, smooth navigation of application, and well execution of transaction through data management is also needed. So in 2013, firms worldwide are expected to spend 448 billion US dollar on computer hardware alone, excluding software and services. So mostly Intel or AMD processors is in the form of blade servers and racks. Also includes Sun, SPARC microprocessors and IBM chips, specially designed for server use, is the dominant manufacturers. So IBM, HP, and Dell and Sun Microsystem is the leading provider of computer, while processors from Intel, AMD, and IBM are the widely accepted as microchips manufacturer, except for user of Linux and Unix, which preferred Sun or IBM processor. So the operating system platforms include platforms for client computers dominated by Windows OS and servers dominated by the various forms of the Unix OS or Linux. So OS are software that manage the resources and activities of the computer and act as an interface for the user. So the popularity of Microsoft Windows Server make it as a preferred operating system server, appealing among organizations seeking for IT infrastructure due to capability to enterprise-wide operating services and network operation. However, it only comprised 35% of the total operating system market. So the leading operating system server with 65% of the market is Unix and Linux. Even though not as widely preferred by organization, its being cheapest and robust open source make it more saleable to organizations with budget deficit. The server level is dominated by Linux or Unix due to its scalability and reliability. It also uses a replacement for mainframe operating system. So one feature of this operating system is its open source that can run different types of server. In client level, so Microsoft dominated the market with 90% of PC users made use of Microsoft Windows operating system, of which commonly used are Windows 8, Windows 7, Windows Vista. So in enterprise and other software application, it includes SAP or SAP, Oracle, and PeopleSoft, and middleware software that are used to link a firm's existing application system. So it became a global solution for a company to establish a collection of software called as enterprise system to satisfy the needs of the organization rather than using individual users. So the advantage of investing in an enterprise software application is its capability to deploy the information in a relatively high speed across a variety of networks. The enterprise software application is generally a tool that businesses use for efficient production operation and back office support, which can cover database management, client servicing, customer relationship management, supply chain, and business processing. SAP and Oracle is well-known provider of the software. Microsoft, on the other hand, is focusing on providing solutions in small and medium-sized business for enterprise software solution. Example deploying enterprise application software is the online shopping platforms wherein the application can accept order of item, accept payment electronically through MasterCard and Visa, and can track order status for customers' convenience. So the fourth is the data management and storage. It's handled by database management software and storage devices include traditional storage methods such as disk arrays and tape libraries and newer network-based storage technologies such as storage area network. So in data management and storage, data management is one of critical IT infrastructure components due to the fact that digital information grows fast, while there is a requirement for a data storage that can store large files. So business strategy take to consider data management plan due to companies of all sizes and types struggle with the data growth, data storage, cost, and long-term plan for data protection. So the data management essential due to its important role of managing stored data for easy access and efficient use. So it is needed to be analyzed and plan ahead to avoid any risk or conflict on data management. The 90% of the US database software marketplace are dominated by IBM DB2, Oracle, Microsoft SQL Server, and Sybase Adaptive Server Enterprise as the leading software provider. So MySQL is a Linux open source relational database product now owned by Oracle Corporation, and Apache Hadoop is an open source software framework for managing massive dataset. In terms of physical data storage provider, such as hard disk of computer and large-scale system, EMC Corporation and Seagate and Western Digital is the leading provider. The fifth component is the networking and telecommunications platform. So include Windows Server, OS, Novell, Linux, and Unix. Nearly all LAN and many wide area networks ones use the TCP/IP standards for network. Network connectivity and telecommunication platforms is one of the essential components of IT infrastructure because it will define the organization's capabilities to provide a fast and accessible computing environment. The productivity of the employees will depend on using the internet and telephone services with high-speed performance. And according to Gartner in 2012, companies worldwide are expected to spend $408 billion US dollars for telecommunications equipment in 2013 and another 1.7 billion US dollar on telecommunication services. Windows Server is widely used as a local area network operating system, followed by Linux and Unix. Cisco, Alcatel-Lucent, Nortel, and Juniper Networks are the leading networking hardware providers. The six components of the IT infrastructure components is the internet platform. So nowadays, internet connectivity become an essential element of a successful IT infrastructure for the companies is on day-to-day activities such as the access and reliable connections on data files and database storage, and the organization are putting investment on high-speed internet connectivity and beyond standard internet platforms. So the internet platforms is composed of hardware, software, and network infrastructure that can support the firm's website. And also the company should take to consider investing in web hosting services, routers, and cabling or wireless equipment. So the web hosting service maintains services, a large web server or series of servers and provides fee-paying subscriber space to maintain their website. IBM and Dell and Sun, Oracle, and HP is the market leader in providing internet hardware server. While the major web software applications, development tools, and suites are supplied by Microsoft, Microsoft Expression Studio, and the Microsoft .NET family of development tools, Oracle stands of their Sans Java as the most widely used tool for developing interactive web application on both the server and client sides, and a host of independent software developers including Adobe for creative Suite and Real Networks for media software. The seventh and the last platform for IT infrastructure components is the consulting and system integration services. So building a powerful IT infrastructure requires foundation for budget management, as we discussed in terms of building an IT infrastructure. So this should be in budget management analysis of what IT services should be used. So in IT infrastructure, it cannot stand alone as hardware, software, or operating system. So it also requires selecting and applying IT services to prolong and efficiently use the IT facility. So not all the organization have the capacity to deploy employees and provide the services. So thus many organizations rely on consulting and system integration services, wherein there were companies specialized in IT services that offer significant changes in business processes and procedures, trainings and education, and software integration. The leading consulting firm providing this expertise include Accenture, IBM Global Services, HP, Infosys, and Wipro Technology. Software integration, on the other hand, is the practice by which organizations are practicing the integration of both the old system with the new trends. Thus, it implies cost-efficient and wise budget management, wherein on this setup, old computing system or the legacy which are still working and useful in the companies, is simultaneously aligned with the modern computing system known as the legacy system. So for example, is the continuously using of a mainframe computer that can store 1,000 files rather than purchasing another type of storage server, or will just purchase new units as an addition to the existing server. So let's now move on to the third part of my report, the contemporary hardware platforms trends. So the first one is the mobile digital platform. So nowadays, cell phone, smartphones such as the iPhone, Samsung have taken on many functions of a handheld computer, including transmission of data, surfing the web, transmitting email, and instant messages, displaying digital content, exchanging data with internal corporate systems. So technology, as they say, is within our reach. So with our fingertips, as we evolve through touch technology to optimize our capacity in accessing web server through mobile technology. So mobile digital platform became very essential as it can be bought anywhere as an alternative to bigger PCs and larger computers. So smartphones have taken many functionalities of computers like the iPhone, Android, BlackBerry smartphones, and other development now on computing technology. More and more business computing is integrating the use of mobile devices alongside with PCs and desktop machine because it is carryable and user-friendly. However, although mobile devices is efficient use, PCs and large computers cannot be replaced due to its stability and high power, while on the other hand, mobile devices has obstacle on battery consumption, transmission bandwidth, fluctuation, in the stability of the network, small screen sizes, and the issue of interoperability. Next, contemporary hardware platform trends is the use of consumerization of IT and BYOD. So in IT consumerization, a perfect blend of personal and business use of technology device and application with this IT consumerization is a new concept using BYOD that pops up. So the popularity and development of mobile technology devices having the capabilities of PCs such as word processing, communication platforms, sharing of digital data network, and internet connectivity and data accessibility became the basis of organization to allow their employees in using their own personal mobile devices called in the workplace as the BYOD or bring your own device. So with BYOD, it is one of the aspects of summarization of IT on which the use of IT first emerged in consumer market is now being used in business. So this also include using applications such as Google and Yahoo search engines, Google app, emails, and even the use of social media such as Facebook and IG and Twitter for business advertising. The pros on adopting BYOD are accessibility, in allowing a remote workforce using their personal devices that improve communications between desk-bound and non-desk employees. Their familiarity is another factor which shows on study that employees have familiarity with the device they're using have better productivity than using other devices. Its flexibility enables employees to bring even at home their workloads cost efficient since company don't need to buy devices for the employees. The cons of IT consumerization through BYOD are security since employees are using their own device, company will give up control over the appropriate use of employees' devices. Software difficulties due to some software used by organization may not suitable for the specific devices. So next is the grid computing. So grid computing is an architectural design of set of computers or multiple computers connected by networks to accomplish aggregate tasks and at the end combine tasks as an output. So the work of a grid computing is described as the main task is split into multiple subtasks which is executed parallel on a separate node. So it is applying the resources of many computers and network to a single problem at the same time, usually to a specific or technical problem that requires a great number of computer processing cycles or access to a large amount of data. It also involves connecting geographically remote computers into a single network to create a virtual supercomputer by combining the computational power of all computers on the grid. Next is the virtualization. It is the process of presenting a set of computing resources, such as computing power, data storage, so that they can all be accessed in ways that are not restricted by physical configuration or geographic location. So it also enables multiple physical resources, such as storage devices or servers, to appear as a single logical resources. So VMware is the leading virtualization software vendor for Windows and Linux servers. Next is the cloud computing. It is considered one of the greatest developments in the world of information technology, by which it is the on-demand availability of computer system resources, especially data storage known as cloud. storage, and computing power without direct active management of the users. The computer processing, storage, and other devices can be provided as a pool of virtualized resources over the network using Internet. The number importance of using cloud computing is it can guarantee a reliable disaster recovery and backup solutions without the hassle of setting them up on a physical device. It can allow business to scale, maintaining flexibility, and focus on other business operations while managing IT infrastructure in terms of storage and computing power is reliably maintained through cloud computing by providing an accessible data, automatic syncing, remote work facilitation, and easy backup. The U.S. National Institute of Standards and Technology (NIST) defines cloud computing as an essential characteristics such as number 1, on-demand self-service, number 2, ubiquitous network access, number 3, location-independent resource pooling, number 4, rapid elasticity, and number 5, measured service. Next slide is the green computing. So green computing is a concept of promoting an ICT sustainability to practice environmental compliance to address the goal to reduce the use of hazardous materials, maximize the energy efficiency to avoid greenhouse gases, the biodegradability or the waste to recycle products and waste from factories. Green computing was started in 1992 when the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency launched Energy Star. So this Energy Star image is designed to promote or recognize the participation of any organization in manufacturing IT devices, in recognizing the energy efficiency in monitors and other computer components. Currently, this resulted in widespread installation of sleep mode in computers, and advocates of green computing suggest to purchase IT products from environmentally committed companies participating in electronic recycling programs, deploying virtual technologies, limit printing and recycle used papers, and shutting down computer when not in use, or simply turning off the computer screen. High performance and power saving processors. So PCs and mainframe and other computing devices require high performance in order to perform its functionality at its best. So however, as it performs faster, the consumption of power equally get high. So this is due to the temperature of the layers farther from the heatsink is higher due to the longer heat conduction path to the cooling system. Thus, results in increase of heat productivity and make the thermal management more complicated. Contrary, high performance is necessary while there is also a need for a power-saving processor. So nowadays, the recent development introduced a use of multi-processor core on a single chip which execute and read computer instruction at a high speed while considering power-saving mode. Multi-processing core is a two or more processor core attached to a single chip to execute tasks, a high-performance task, even multiple tasks simultaneously for enhanced performance while reducing power costs. As a result, PC today made use of dual-core, quad-core, 6-core, and 8-core processors. The last contemporary hardware platform trends is the autonomic computing. Autonomic computing, by some experts, believe that with the large systems encompassing many thousands of network devices, computer systems have become so complex today that they may not be manageable in the future. So to address the complexity on the IT infrastructure management, industry worldwide developed the autonomic computing idea for the computing devices wherein the device will be enabled as self-configuring or the ability to adapt to change in the system, self-optimizing or the ability to improve performance, self-healing or the ability to recover from mistake, and self-protecting or the ability to anticipate and cure intrusions such as viruses and malwares. For an instance, PCs today have virus and firewall protection software enabled to detect viruses, automatically defeat the viruses, and alert operators.
Okay, sir, is there any continuation from your
That's the end
co-members?
of my report.
Sir, how about your partner, sir?
Yes, sir.
May partner ka po?
Dean, this is JC. Good afternoon. Dean, good afternoon po. Yes,
Yes, good
I'm here po.
afternoon. Go ahead, sir.
All right, thank you very much, everyone. Good afternoon, Dean. Good afternoon, my dear classmates. No, so this is just a continuation of the report of Sir Ariel. So unfortunately, I don't have a pre-recorded video, but nevertheless, my approach actually with the reports that I'll be doing is that I'll try to discuss things the simplest way possible, because in consideration of the other classmates who probably doesn't have any background in terms of IT. So um, I'll also use our company, A Spark Technologies Inc., as a reference for some other things that will be discussed here. So let me begin in discussing to you what Linux and open source software is. So what are the uses of it? Um, just one moment. So Linux is a free and open source software. By the way, guys, if we talk about Linux and open source, one uh, terminology that comes to our mind, you have to remember this is actually for free. It's free. So it's an open source software, which means that you can actually use, copy, and change the software. And it's freely available to anyone. In other words, you don't have to pay a dime, a single cent to use it. It's like a plug and play. You simply have to download it, install it on your computer, and it's actually ready to use. Um, the next is that how does Linux differ from other operating systems? So based from our assessment, these are the qualities or the characteristics of Linux. That's why it differentiates itself from the other uh, things like because Linux number one is free, it's incredibly customizable, it's fast, it's lightweight, it's stability, and it's flexible. I'll be discussing further how is it considered that way. Now, how do people prefer using open source software? Number one is because of the control. So many people prefer open source software because they have more control over that kind of software. So users who aren't programmers, who are not programmers, also benefit from the open source software because they can use this software for any purpose they wish to. Also, the reason why people prefer using open source most of the time is number two, for training purposes. Actually, in our company, um, this is being utilized and being used by those software developers of ours who actually just got onboarded to the program and just trying to learn the programming, how we do things. No, so because of open source code is publicly accessible, our developers can easily study it as they learn to make better software. So regardless of how long these developers can actually have a full grasp of the development, it, walang issue sa operational expenses ng company namin kasi open source, it's free. No, so they can actually learn, they can actually take time, but of course it's not advisable. We have to give time frame for them to really master the um, software, how they actually program. Um, Next is for security. Some of the people or most of the people believe and prefer open source software because they consider it more secure and stable than proprietary software. Meaning yung may mga bayad na software. Also for stability, one of the main reasons why they prefer open source. So many users prefer open source software over the proprietary software for important long-term projects. Yung sinasabi ko nga kanina na since it's actually free, it's kumbaga common and it's just wise to use it. Kasi wala kang poproblemahin na magdadagdag ng cost that would affect your operational expenses. Then now, who uses Linux? I'm pretty sure most likely you do have a device in your home or you actually use that because You probably own an Android phone, tablets, a Chromebook, or digital storage device, or personal video recorders, cameras, wearables, and more also run Linux. So marami talagang ginagamit. Hindi lang siguro tayo familiar, but now you know that most of the gadgets or devices that you're actually using uses Linux. So as for the web application platform, ito naman, yung company kasi namin, we do integration of platforms, no? So we do have servers, databases, file image handling, security, web workers, back office, platform integration. Um, these are the common the software, yung languages na ginagamit namin. So yung HTML5. The HTML5 are used to describe the initial structure of web pages or platforms. While on the other hand, yung Java are being used for connecting databases, servers, and other callbacks from clients to our Amazon server. Kasi ang ginagamit namin at the moment, nakasubscribe kami sa AWS, Amazon Web Service. So Java yung ginagamit doon. While on the other hand, for the CSS or C or SCSS, dito ginagamit naman to ng creative team namin, the graphic designers. They're using it to create a responsive design and style to our platform. So mostly this is for purposes, no? So whenever we do integration of platform, these are the usual steps that we're actually doing. The first, of course, is to purchase a domain. Usually it's a GoDaddy or what. We purchase that. For example, www.abc.com. And next is that we choose a best and secure platform service. So find one that guarantees a smooth platform experience. Step three, of course, is to get a secure SSL certificate. So it provides authentication for your site to maintain security. And then step four, planning and development. We combine brainstorming of the team. It takes a lot of time and effort to develop a new platform. Dito sa planning and development stage na to, sa step four, this is where the business uh, requirements comes in. No, usually whenever we close a deal, um, normally we sit in with the client and ask them what are the preferences in terms of the designs, in terms of the functionalities, in terms of the reports that they would want to incorporate to the platform, meaning the end product. This is where 100% customizable product comes in. For the step 5, sandboxing, production, and maintenance. Dito namin sinisecure yung safe payment methods, may customer happy sa sandboxing, yung stress testing na ginagawa, tinetest if there are any bugs or so before we actually release the product. Now, I, this is just to show to you one of the products that we do have. So it's a remote gaming platform that we have actually developed for one of the PAGCOR licenses here in the Philippines, meaning it's a company that is actually allowed to offer gaming in the Philippines, and it's licensed by PAGCOR. So this is also the website that we have created. As you can see, ito yung mga designs niya, etc. So this particular thing that you're actually seeing in your screen is a product of the preference of our clients, meaning they are the ones who actually given us an idea on how their product would come in. Like for example, the colors, uh, this lady here, the designs, etc. Things as such, no? Also, we do have other products. Yung top-notch platform namin, we offer e-commerce, food delivery, or point of sales and customized platforms. Sinasabi nga namin, any manual systems that you might have there, maybe pwede natin pag-usapan or maybe you can recommend it to us so that we can actually develop a platform for it para we make it digitalized. Yung web services and service-oriented architecture or yung SOA na sinasabi natin, ito siya. So it actually benefits lots of things in the company. Like for example, if you do have a well-organized service-oriented architecture, number one for the people, it empowers the decision makers. And the second one, for the processes, it aligns IT with the business operations. Later on, it will be discussed further as we tackle the matter. For the platform, it increases operational efficiency. And for number 4, practice as we employ best practice methodology. So what are the benefits of having a service-oriented architecture? First, Of course, it's a greater business agility, faster time to market, by efficiently assembling an application from reusable service interfaces rather than rewriting or integrating applications. Uh, for each new development project, developers can create applications more quickly in response to business opportunities. Ito, ginagawa namin dito, usually, meron na kaming bone structure ng isang software. Kumbaga, nire-reskin na lang namin, for example, pero pare-pareho lang din naman yung, ano yan, yung codes niya. Kumbaga, nire-reskin na lang namin based on the preference ng panibagong clients. Kung yung isa, for example, ang team niya is Oriental, the other one, ang team niya is European perhaps, mas madali na lang yan kasi parang front-end na lang ng platform, ng software ang binabago namin pagdating dyan. The second is that the ability to leverage legacy functionality in new markets. A well-designed SOA allows developers to easily extend functionality locked off computing platform or environment or to new environments and markets. So we make processes and information available to customers. Say, for example, there are certain functions that's actually just available to a particular um, service, then possibly we can, as long as we can actually understand how it's being done and the end goal as requested by the clients themselves, then we can actually do that. That's one of the benefits of having a service-oriented architecture. Third is that improved collaboration between business and IT. As for our company naman, this is not actually an issue. So this enables business analysts to work more effectively with developers on important insights. As for us naman kasi, with the setup of our company, the IT team and the developers yung software outsourcing and cloud services. No, let me just differentiate the two. Yung software outsourcing is the practice of selecting a third-party service provider or software development services that is capable of managing all tasks involved in a software development project. While cloud services is the infrastructure, platform, or software that are hosted by third-party provider and made available to users through the internet. Now, there are different categories of outsourcing na tinatawag natin. Hindi naman siya practical. It is an outsourcing where geographic proximity is taken into consideration. The task project outsource will be performed by the people of the country or from the neighboring countries. So hindi masyadong malayo. It's possible that, for example, a project in the Philippines would get would outsource some IT services from, say, for example, Taiwan, then that's considered actually as a nearshore. While on the other hand, the exact opposite of that is offshore outsourcing. Offshore outsourcing, the part of work or full work is outsourced to any feasible country. This outsourcing model is an aid to optimize the overall budget and prefer to hire from a global pool of the website called Fiverr, yung fiverr.com. You can actually outsource their any talent. If you're not good at editing video, there's of any independent video editors there. So that's one of the examples here. Siguro yung madaling explanation so that we can actually understand easily yung offshore outsourcing na tinatawag natin. Next is that the on-site outsourcing. So the on-site outsourcing is a type of outsourcing where the outsourcing company sends their proficient and high-skilled employees to client location. Ito yung mga, with the previous companies that we do have, ito yung ginagawa namin. Kasi I remember we're having troubles when it comes to integrating kasi yung IT team ng company na i-integrate namin sa platform namin are actually Chinese. So there's always a language barrier, parang ang tagal nila mag-reply. So as to comply with the PAGCO requirement, I remember I sent the whole integration team to their office and then opisina nila, I brought, compared to almost 2 months of integration in matter of hours because of on-site itong outsourcing na to, we managed to finish the integration in 8 hours. So there are certain advantages on this one. On the other hand, the opposite naman ng on-site is of course onshore outsourcing. The business can contact or contract to any other software development company within the country but not within the same company. So parang third party rin to, outsourcing lang ng services or products ng company para ma-resolve yung any issue or to do the project itself. Multi-shore outsourcing. Pag sinabing multi-shore outsourcing, employing many companies currently based on their location and service provided. So this type of engagement model is safe and often used by large corporations for their distinct business needs that I catered to a nearshore and offshore partners. Usually, guys, itong multi-shore outsourcing na to, it's actually a technique or a step that's being taken by large companies. So as part of their BCP or business continuity plan. Uh, Ito yung classic example wherein sinasabi nila, do not put your eggs in one basket, no? Kasi it's possible na halimbawa, magkaroon ng issue on one particular company. At least there are other companies who can actually catch yung operations, no? So tuloy-tuloy pa rin, smooth pa rin yung maging operations regardless of what will happen. So there's also the so-called staff augmentation. So business are leasing their employees to another software development company. The business can add resources to their team as per the business requirement temporarily to augment their workforce and achieve business goals. So usually ginagawa rin naman namin to. For example, the client decides to and of course, bayad naman yun on their part para mas mapabilis lang. Manage team outsourcing. The clients hire a team that can be onshore or offshore and manages the day-to-day development process. The client's in-house project manager regularly communicates with the outsourced team and assigns and verifies tasks. As
Go
and
ahead, sir.
all right. So for project-based outsourcing, as I was actually saying, this is a wise move, particularly for startup company. When you're actually starting, actually even now, yung technical writer namin is project-based lang din siya. So as yung hindi na namin babayaran yung mga government fees niya, etc. So kung matapos niya tong particular project na to, bayad na siya dyan. Matapos siya dyan, bayad siya. Kumbaga parang less yung liability namin sa kanya when it comes to uh, yung mga bayad niya sa government, like SSS, pag-ibig, etc. And actually, ito yung pinaka-rampant at this point kasi pabor to dun sa mga developers na ano mo yan, mga naghahanap ng maraming projects. Talagang tumatabo ng projects yung tinatapos nila. Doon sila binabayaran. So it's project-based outsourcing. Very rampant at this point. Ito naman, software as a service, yung SaaS natin tinatawag. So this service includes a file storage, backup, web-based. Yung mga examples nito, of course, yung Dropbox, Slack, Microsoft 365. I think the most common pa na ginagamit dito sa Pilipinas actually is Discord, no? I think it's much better compared to Slack-based from my experience. Now, there's also the platform as a service or PaaS. Developers can build and deploy apps. It provides a database and operating system that is needed to develop cloud-based software. There's also the so-called infrastructure as service or what to? IaaS. So it provides the infrastructure that you need to manage SaaS, including server storage and networking resources. So examples nito, of course, is Cisco and yung AWS or Amazon Web Services. Now, ito yung mga obvious advantages of outsourcing. No? Napakarami if you notice. There's the flexibility, easier business scaling, um, flexible payment terms, cost reduction, faster turnaround. It depends talaga. So sobrang daming option natin on what kind of outsourcing that a company can actually lean towards to depending on the needs of the company. Yan. Ito yung mga examples na makikita niyo. So for cloud computing services, I think it was discussed already by Sir Ariel earlier. So yung mga cloud computing, siyempre yung reliability niya, yung cost scale, yung agility, efficiency, opportunities, innovation, things as such. So let's just skip this one. So what are the challenges of managing IT infrastructure and management solutions? And let's discuss this further. So dealing with platform and infrastructure change. So actually, just recently, we do have yung isang medyo malaking problema namin the past few weeks. No? So one of the game providers namin, panalo siya ng mga around 5 million pesos sa players. And ang problema, they're not admitting that there's actually a problem with the win rate of their games. No? So, ang kagandahan lang nun, syempre we are an IT company, so somehow we do have yung mga processes at hand namin on how we deal on such. Syempre, so as for the continuance of our business, products and services, we immediately coordinated with Evolution Gaming. So, yung Evo Play na nakikita niyo dyan sa screen nyo, nilaglag na ni Sir Carl yan. Pinatanggal na. So pinapapalitan na namin siya ng Evolution Gaming. But the problem is, of course, if you are to change a platform, infrastructure, or things as such, syempre, there's a new business deal that you have to undertake. Like for example, ano ba yung mga new policies and procedures that differentiates it from the other platform na gagamitin mo? Yung payment terms, is it the same ba? Or um, can you possibly negotiate it to be the same as what you have before? Kasi sobrang daming mangyayari dyan. For example, sa Evo Play, yung back offices niyan, mababago yan. Yung reporting is completely different from Evolution, things as such. So, yan yung mga challenges na hinaharap ng mga IT companies na hindi alam ng mga clients actually. Kasi usually internal lang yan eh. Alam naman natin usually ang mga clients natin after lang naman sila sa end goal, kumbaga kung ano yung sa end product nila. As to how you do it, sometimes they don't actually care about that. Next is management and governance. So there are long-standing issues, sinasabi nga nila, information system managers and CEOs have been questions of who will control and manage the firm's IT infrastructures. Well, kung well-established naman yung company nyo and well-structured, meron naman tayong tinatawag na CTO, or Chief Technical Officer. So, si CTO naman, usually, siya yung main in charge dun sa kung ano, IT staff ng company nyo. And then si CTO, nag-report na lang siya kay CEO, COO. COO, nag-report na lang siya kay CEO. So, I don't think there's an issue on this matter. It's just a matter of putting a well-structured company so that each department, meron silang, kumbaga, parang pinagtutusukan at pinagre-reportan. Now, the important questions to answer is, should departments and divisions have the responsibility of making their own information technology decisions? Again, itong lahat ng questions na ito, guys, nakadepende to as to how you structure the company. So, hindi naman siya masyadong issue actually. Like, for example, what is the relationship between Central Information System Management and Business Unit Information System Management? Siguro, from the way how I assess it, magiging problema lang to kung multinational company. For example, sobrang laki ng company. Also, how will infrastructure costs be allocated among business units? Eh kung marami namang funds, hindi naman na magiging issue yung ano, allocation ng budget. So IT governance. IT governance provides a structure for aligning IT strategy with the business strategy. By following a formal framework, organizations can produce measurable results toward achieving their strategies and goals. This is very important, guys, kasi um, yung IT nyo, particularly kung like for an IT company, definitely you will be having some investments dyan. Kagaya nga ng nabanggit kanina, you will be investing on, for example, database, ano ba, yung mga computers, etc. At the end of the day, syempre, you are running a business for your IT. Ba siya doon, aligned ba siya doon sa kung ano ba yung objective ng company niyo at the end of the day. So, tingin ko papasok din dito yung ano yung strategic planning, strat planning ng company niyo para align each department, align lahat ng groups and heads and managers towards one goal, which is yun nga yung company objectives niyo. So, value delivery. So, the perceived value of IT investments are attributed to whether the promised benefits were achieved and were they achieved within the budget and within the promised time frame. So lahat naman ito madidetermine lang natin if we do have some parameters na tinatawag natin so that we can actually scale or measure yung value ng lahat ng IT investments natin. For strategic alignment, the enterprise must evaluate its strategic goals as an organization and ensure that their IT investments is in harmony with those goals. Ito yung sinasabi ko nga kanina, no? Strategic alignment, strategic planning. Ano ba yung objective ng company nyo? Diba? Kasi sa strat planning doon, each department are given an opportunity. Ano ba yung plans nila? Ano ba yung gagawin nila? Or ano ba yung magiging contribution nila towards achieving yung company's goal? So it's very important. Yung performance measurement, ito nabanggit na rin natin, yung risk management, similar na lang din naman to sa nabanggit natin kanina. Yung resource management, organizations should align and prioritize IT resources that are required in the operations of the business. Defining a clear service level agreement allow for effective monitoring for the IT services provided. So this allows for identification of the most cost-effective service delivery while maintaining a baseline quality of service. Not just in IT company, guys, no? Very important talaga yung SLAs na tinatawag natin or yung service level agreements kasi it serves as a matrix or parameter to determine yung performance, not just of the IT infrastructure, but anything in an organization. Kasi doon mo ibabase yung ano yung performance ng lahat SLA dito sa IT. Makikita naman natin. Excuse. Making wise infrastructure investments. So the benefits of using cloud services include a significant reduction in hardware, software, human resources, and maintenance costs. Usually, whenever we deal with our clients, we provide them options. No? It's either they would opt to subscribing to a cloud service or gusto ba nila na i-maintain nila ng sarili nila yung mga data, for example, no? What are the advantages and disadvantages of that? For example, if you will be doing yung service subscription, tingin ko magiging cost efficient ng mga hardwares nyo, di ba? Hindi mo na kailangan gumastos ng rentals, for example, where you will be housing yung mga hardwares nyo, etc. Hindi ka nagagastos ng electricity, hindi ka na magbabayad ng tao na yung magmo-monitor nun. So cloud service, for example, with AWS, kompleto na sila. In fact, AWS is promising 99.9% uptime. Diba? So, if there's an opportunity or if there's a threat possibly na mag-downtime siya, meron at meron silang sites na sasalo nung functions ng AWS. So hindi siya mas wise siya. So that's why ngayon nga sinasabi natin, kumbaga nandito na tayo sa cloud age eh. Lahat nilalagay na natin sa cloud service kasi maliban sa mas efficient na siya. mas tingin ko mas mura in a sense. So yun. Ito sample lang naman to sa amin. Our infrastructure powered by Amazon Web Services. May makikita dyan. Ulit appeal. Sabi dito, if you make the customer unhappy in the physical world, they might tell 6 friends. If you make customers unhappy on the internet, they can tell 6,000 friends. So, sabi ni Jeff Bezos yan. So, it's very important na you provide really good service to your customers, no? Ako, hindi ako naniniwala dito kasi kahit sabihin mong isa lang yan, in the physical world, word of mouth, mabilis din yan. Right? Anybody, yung publicity kasi, negative publicity is still a negative publicity. Hindi mo masasabi kung gaano kalaki yung magiging epekto yan sa company. So yun guys, ang references ko actually for my report. So then I'll just do the recording possibly later tonight and then I will upload it dun sa G Drive po. Thank you so much po. Have a great day everyone.
So, okay, I think that's it for that discussion since maybe our presenter encountered an internet connection problem or issues. Okay.